All right, next up is Marsha Gordon. She's an associate professor of film studies at NC State and appears on the monthly NPR State of Things Movies on the Radio with host Frank Stasio and Laura Boys of the North Carolina Museum of Art. Please welcome Marsha.
Hello, Raleigh. What a day. Whew. Okay. So I would say that as more and more people are watching films on things like portable electronic devices, which I cannot imagine, but which young people actually do, it's going to be harder and harder to sustain public exhibition spaces. And I think we can be creative about how we address this issue in the 21st century. That's a challenge and an opportunity, especially for a place like Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a nostalgic image, but this is the equivalent of watching DVDs at home, right? So there's the very personal, then there's the smaller group, and then we get to the theatrical experience. And I think that film going is very important to the cultural and intellectual life of any community. And I think seeing movies and talking about movies, all different kinds, documentary, educational, feature films, shorts, is essential to a city's health. So I want to talk a little bit about what we have currently, and I'm going to focus on Raleigh and especially on downtown, but not exclusively. And I think for a mid-sized city, we are very, very lucky to have what we have. This is an image from the North Carolina Museum of Art. In the summers, they have outdoor programming, and it's kind of in the drive-in movie model, but it's like a walk-in. Obviously, you can bring a picnic, but it's only in the summer, and it's not regular exhibition. There are indoor screenings in the fall and winter, but it's not a fantastic auditorium for sightlines, and it's in the older building. The cafe is on the other side, so there's not a whole lot of opportunity for discussion and engagement. We also have locally owned theaters, the Ambassador Cinemas, Rialto Theater on Glenwood, pictured here, single screen theater built in 1942, fantastic programming including a monthly film society, also the Colony Theater on Six Forks that does really great art house programming and really brings great stuff to the Triangle. This is an image of the IMAX Theater in downtown Raleigh at Marbles. It's a single screen, big 3D blockbuster movies, awe-inspiring documentaries, but not much in terms of social life or community. It's just a place you go, and I guess you can talk to people while you stand in the long lines. This is Skip Elsheimer, also known as the AV Geek. We are very lucky to have really adventurous programmers, woo-woo, in Raleigh, and Skip shows some of his 25,000 educational films at places like King's Barcade, the Museum of Natural Sciences, Lump Gallery, and he is also a co-sponsor, a little self-promotional plug, of an event we do together called Home Movie Day, which is taking place in October. You can bring out your old 8 and 16 millimeter home movies, we'll show them, but what's even more important is a bunch of people get together in the State Archives auditorium and we talk to each other about what we see on the screen, and people shout things out, and it's a very communal experience, and that's the part that I think has been missing from a lot of Raleigh film culture. There's also a lot of erratic exhibition that happens place. SPARKCon, this is a Beth Khalifa photograph at King's Barcade. Very temporary exhibition sites. The NC Symphony is going to be showing West Side Story, the Museum of History. North Carolina State has a campus cinema as well. Now I want to talk about what we used to have. This is a really cool Going to the Show project that Bobby Allen at UNC did. There were 15 movie theaters in downtown Raleigh at various points in history. On Fayetteville Street alone, there were 8 movie theaters. These are all gone. You're going to see the Ambassador Theater here, which was at 115 Fayetteville Street, opened in 1938, seated 1,700 people. There were 5 movie theaters on Martin Street. You're going to see the Palace Theater in a moment, 113 West Martin Street. It opened in 1927, and it seated 900. The only extant, to my knowledge, still standing theater that's downtown is the Lincoln Theater, which was actually a segregated African-American theater that's now a music venue. But of course, it's been de-movie theatered, so all the seats and screen were taken out, and it's great to have that as a music venue, but I sure wish we had a standalone movie theater downtown. And finally, the Capitol and the State Theaters. Capitol was at 124 West Martin, opened in 1924, seated 500. State Theater at 320 South Salisbury, opened in 24, seated 1,400. So people used to go to the movies 3, 4, 5 days a week. Those days are gone. what are some possible futures for downtown Raleigh, in particular for film exhibition? I taught in Prague this summer. You'll be hearing a little bit more about that in a moment. And I want to just talk about some models. This is Kino Svetozor. It's in the heart of Prague 1. It has 2 screens. One has 356 seats, another 52, tiny screening space. They show 14 movies a day, starting at 11. In the morning, you can see it's streetcar line. You get off, it's very urban. But it is a mix of art film and documentary, experimental film, video art, commercials. They have great equipment, but they're also a cafe. They serve beer. They have art exhibitions. It's a place where people go and hang out, and they talk before and they talk after. So it's not just about going to the movies. There's examples of this in the States. The Alamo Drafthouse is probably the most well-known in Austin, Texas. I just learned from Skip Elsheimer that they started on the 2nd floor of an office building, okay? So we have that possibility here. They do fun programming, kung fu films, exploitation films, 80s nights, spaghetti dinners for spaghetti westerns, and they make their money on food and beer. This is an image of a library in Bayfield, Colorado, population 4,000. It has no movie theater. So this screen sits outside of their library, and they do screenings out there. So it's kind of a walk-in theater. Maybe we need that in Moore Square. Maybe a restaurant that has a courtyard needs to commit to doing film programming until we get a theater. There's a lot of great micro-cinema models all over the country. This is Aurora Picture Show, also in Texas. Who knew? Houston. This is a nonprofit that is a converted church. Okay, so you don't have to have a big movie theater in order to do a micro-cinema. And there's examples of this all over the country. And I think they do a regular exhibition, but if you had a more regular program, I think it would work here. This is Echo Park Film Center. I've done a presentation there. It's another micro-cinema. It's a nonprofit. They do filmmaking workshops. It's a real community center. So I think as we think about what we need in this community, and especially in downtown, first off, we need to support our locally owned small art house cinemas. Go to the movies, don't watch stuff on your phone, get people to go out, go to these events, support your local programmers. And I think this is an entrepreneurial situation that somebody can really have a great business, but I also think it's a community effort and that it's good for our intellectual and cultural life. So let's do it.